Last week on Legally Kidnapped.
Good evening. Our top story this week. In Florida, the media circus continues into the case of a twin girl who was killed by her adoptive parents. This after it is revealed that 3 days before the girl was found dead, a DCF investigator said the kids were safe. 2 workers involved in the case get fired, with one appealing that decision. The state decides to overhaul its child abuse hotline. The foster care agencies are looking for a legal shield to protect themselves against the oncoming lawsuits in the case. DCF works to protect its image. And in order to prevent another tragedy like this, a report recommends that the state start supervising homeschoolers. In Oklahoma, adoptive parents are upset about the long intrusive process of adopting through the foster care system. A class action lawsuit filed by the child advocacy group Children's Rights claims that Oklahoma isn't doing enough to protect foster children. The Oklahoma DHS responds by saying that Children's Rights don't care enough about the kids nearly as much as they do the millions of dollars they will receive from the state for providing court-ordered oversight. The governor of Ohio wants to cut funding for kinship care programs. In Arkansas, gay rights groups are up in arms over a law that says unmarried couples can't adopt or be foster parents. And an ousted judge from Alabama claims that legalizing gay marriage will lead to child abuse. New York City is no longer allowed to keep troubled foster kids in psychiatric hospitals after doctors have recommended their release. And a lawsuit urges the states to stop taking foster kids' SSI benefits. Former Representative Nancy Pelosi pulls the kid card, claiming that pulling the plug on the National Public Radio puts our kids in danger. A state senator from Colorado thinks that poor parents on Medicaid should pay higher co-payments to their kids' doctors. In Iowa, the legislature wants the wrongfully accused removed from the state's child abuse register. And lawyers are up in arms over Iowa's Department of Human Services proposal to stop the practice of having county attorneys represent DHS in child welfare cases. In Connecticut, an elementary school is getting its very own DCF worker. In Georgia, a pilot study is planned on the use of prescription drugs in the state's foster care system. Maine's new governor, who admitted to stealing candy from children when he was 12, now wants to undo the state's child labor laws. And as that same governor works to cut welfare benefits to the poor, the Maine Children's Alliance puts out a report stating that more Maine kids are living in poverty. Massachusetts runs out of money for college tuition for former foster children. Nebraska group homes are about to lose Medicaid funding. In Tennessee, a Senate committee votes to lift the age gap on public breastfeeding. A new study reveals that think kids that cereal tastes better if the box has cartoon characters on it. And the feds want the schools to start monitoring kids' Facebook activities outside of school in order to protect some students from bullying and harassment. China considers relaxing its one-child policy. The caretaker of a private orphanage in India is arrested for torturing children. In Scotland, toddlers are going to be tested by shrinks to see if they will grow up to be drug addicts or criminals. In Ireland, a system suck is upset over the government's decision to set up a separate child welfare agency apart from the HSE. And parents remain safe as a social worker strike continues in Israel. New Zealand's new anti-smacking law is being used as a weapon of mass destruction in custody battles. In Northern Ireland, parents who willingly put their kids in temporary respite care are finding it difficult to get them back. And Singapore wants to start licensing social workers in an effort to professionalize the industry. In Australia, a kid gets suspended from school for body slamming his bully. The video went viral, making the kid an instant web hero, but was quickly taken down by YouTube. And a father gets 9 months in jail for beating a pedophile who attacked his stepdaughter. In Canada this week, the Six Nations clan protests the Children's Aid Society for snatching too many Aboriginal children. And a teenager in Alberta attacks a worker at a group home. In England, a couple with learning disabilities criticizes social services after being forced to give up their kid for adoption. The Norfolk Council has a surge of interest from prospective foster parents after they raise the pay rates. A 15-year-old goes missing from his foster home, and an 11-year-old child trafficking victim who is made to work on a pot farm goes missing from foster care. Mel Gibson has at least one supporter, as Jodie Foster says she'll love him for the rest of her life. An adoptive mother from Ohio who kept the kids in cages walks free from jail after 2 years. A foster mother from New York beats a 17-month-old boy to within an inch of his life. In California this week, a former foster dad appears in court for homicide and child abuse after killing a 3-month-old last November. A Fresno foster parent is suspected of child molestation, and a 23-year-old foster mother is in trouble after shaking a 7-week-old baby to death. A cop from West Virginia is accused of making sexual sexual advances on a boy, going as far as to threaten to call Child Protective Services on the kid's mother if the kid didn't comply. In North Carolina, a foster father is in trouble after his foster kid brings a gun and 4 knives to school. The Florida DCF worker who was caught with the cocaine gets fired. In Germany, an employee of a child welfare agency gets busted for stealing from orphans who he was assigned to look after. And in Kentucky, a foster parent is charged with more than 200 sex-related crimes. In Massachusetts, a girl disappears from her group home. A former foster kid from New York looks for her real mother on the Oprah network. An Ohio caseworker gets away with discrimination against a Muslim woman. In Arizona, the mother of a child who died in a foster home speaks out. In Illinois, family is speaking out about unfounded abuse claims. A 13-year-old Native American teen is suspended from school because of his long hair. After suffering years of abuse in Rhode Island's foster care system, a former foster kid wants a complete overhaul of the state's child welfare system. And finally, tonight, a New Jersey mother has been separated from her kid for 3 years now for refusing to consent to an unnecessary C-section. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.